Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between, just like we do every Friday and Saturday night. So thanks for stopping by. And we're being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and also on YouTube World. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and the bell if you want alerts and all that jazz. And then, no matter how you are listening to me, make sure you do stop in and say hello. You can also send me an email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And just want to thank you all for joining me here on my crazy adventure. And so, yes, just on my hair, it is green and blue and purple. So, yeah, peacock green, sure. It's both bombers, so yeah. This is Corona hair. Because sure, why not? Why not? And let's see, if you want to support the show, please do so. You can do that at etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain 1. That's MTN for mountain. Or you can also go to patreon.com/the spaces between. I am in both places. And I see chat rooms are blowing up and everyone's chatting away. So hello, hello. And I'm not going to give you a shout out tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't do it last night either. Mostly because I don't want to break it because it's not broken right at the moment. So yeah, because why break it if I don't have to? And I am joined again tonight by Carlton of Farmacy Seeds. He's an organic type gardener, grower, farmer type guy with a lot of herbal knowledge as far as the medicinal uses. So what we did last night, if you didn't catch the show, you should, because this is part 2. That was part 1. We talked about the contemporary uses or medicinal uses for different herbs. And then also we talked about the pagan correspondences or the witchcraft correspondences. Can't talk tonight. Sorry, it was the wine earlier. But some of those ingredients that you might see online, like, batwing is holly leaf, for instance. So I've been working up a list. I've started off with about 180 different ingredients, and some of them are repeats. They have different names, depending on what culture you're from, what part of the world you're from. So they have, different names. And then, so we've linked up some of those pagan-esque or witchcraft names to the real thing. Just kind of doing a compare and contrast. And there will be printables on the Patreon page if you want printables. So check it out. I'll make at least one of them free for anybody who stops by, just so you guys kind of know what the format will look like. So that's my to-do list this next week as I am trying to wrap up my Corona quarantine. So... Carlton, are you on air? Hello?
I believe I am. I'm now unmuted.
Awesome. Excellent. And if for some reason we have audio issues again tonight, like we did last night, just let me know. I do have some fine-tuning I can do on my end. But as of this moment, it's not broken, so I'm not going to fix it. So all right. Well, how was your...
Totally understand.
How was your Saturday?
My Saturday was good. It was a little bit easier day today than yesterday. Yesterday was a crazy one. But it was good. It was sunny and warm and beautiful. I got into the beehives and opened them up and did a quick inspection to see how they're doing, and finished moving chickens over to the chicken tractor to get them out for the season to start working soils, and just been doing other farm-related chores around here.
Very
So
cool.
it was good. How was yours?
It was good. I guess I had a wild critter of some sort decided they wanted into my chicken pen and kind of messed up my gate just a bit, but we've
Mhm.
got it redneck together for the moment. And hopefully tomorrow, when it's not raining, I will go out and work on it and get it kind of tightened up again. And then, other than that, spent the day with the family, my grandkids and the in-laws, and so yeah, it's good times. It was just I was going for the easy, quiet day, but it ended up being a lot more adventuresome than I had intended originally. So yeah. Anyways, but it's all good, right?
I know how that. I know how that is. I know how that is.
Yeah, it is an adventure. So one thing I noticed about last night is we had a lot of material that we were trying to go over, and maybe I don't know, stay on topic just a little, maybe. But we weren't really off
I will.
topic
I will
last
do
night.
my best.
I know we were pretty
Yeah, we did.
much
We did. We had a great
on
discussion.
point. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes tonight. I guess first off, talk about your farm, and because we didn't really do that yesterday. I just kind of started, and yeah. So it's all you.
All right. All right. All right. Well, so my farm is basically a regenerative agricultural based farming operation. It's not a huge farm. I'm currently running around 20 or 30,000 square foot of production area. It's mostly tomatoes and herbs and sweet corn and potatoes and sweet potatoes, some ginger, some turmeric, uh, a lot of rosemary plants, a few citrus trees that I winter over in the greenhouse. And I mostly try to work at building soils using plants as part of that symbiotic process. And one of the tools that I use for that is something called foliar feeding, and it's basically using a complete hormonal and trace mineral nutritional support to improve plant health and accelerate photosynthesis. And in accelerating photosynthesis, we increase the amount of sugars that plants produce. This photosynthesis is the basis for all sugars produced in the plant. And so when the plants produce excess sugars, they can send a bunch of those excess sugars back into the soil. That feeds the microbial biology, and that enhances the soil tremendously in a very rapid way. So my systems are all based on that, but I integrate things like chicken tractors and chickens and manures and composting, and I do collect natural materials from the woods and from the farm here as mulches. Um, and I do sell to a few local restaurants, although I don't know if that's going to be an option this year. We're still in lockdown mode here in New York.
Yeah.
But, so that's kind of the basics. I have a small greenhouse, 24 by 12. I keep that with the wood stove and thermal mass system in the winter. And I really enjoy that. It's kind of my sanctuary for getting away from the cold in the winter months. And it supports, wintering over some of those more tropical plants like I was talking about. So it's kind of a basic thing here. And, to that end, my YouTube channel is trying to help educate people regarding all of those processes and how to integrate them and some of the finer details of it.
Very
So I
cool.
guess that's kind of a rundown.
The little bitty rundown about all the stuff that you do. Yes. Yeah, it's. I like gardening. I didn't get my garden in this year just because time, oddly enough, not so much time is I don't have a garden tiller, and it's been sitting idle, and it has a lot of weeds and debris left over from previous years, so it needs to be tilled under at least. Honestly, I should till it under tonight or not tonight this year, and in preparation for next year, because it'll need some work to it, and I've got some chicken manure to spread and stuff. So yeah, just stuff.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process, but I want an herbal garden because I tend to prefer to do my own pharmaceuticals, if you will. There's so much out there that the natural world provides that I would rather be using then, hey, I want another pill for my ill because there's so many pills out there, and a lot of them have really awesome side effects like, risk-taking behavior and explosive bowels and stuff. And yeah, who wants to sign up for that?
Oh, yeah. Bleeding from the eyes and all sorts of
Right.
wonderful things.
Exactly. It's just, I'd rather, just go out and pick some cilantro and call it a day. But as far as food goes,
Feel the same way.
yeah, and then, there's quite a few different smell ingredients that I try to incorporate into my ritual, my practice and stuff on the pagan side. And I don't want to go to the grocery store to get it. And the farmers markets, I think we had our first one today. And it's in a different location. They limit the number of people there, one person per household into the farmers market. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's an adventure. That's all there is to it. It's just an adventure. So I don't want to rely on other people for things that technically I live on 20 acres. I can grow my own herbs and stuff. So, and then there's wild crafting. So like last night we talked about wild crafting. Pay attention to your area and rules and restrictions. There's just a lot of things that you really shouldn't harvest without being aware of licensure, because there's some things that are considered in danger, and some things are just dangerous to harvest. Doctera is one of them. You got to be a little careful before you go harvest. It's not for the faint of heart, and you probably ought to wear gloves. Just straight up front. Yeah. And you need to know what you're doing before you do your preparation. But that's just an example. But some mushrooms, you need to know your mushrooms before you go harvesting. So, and then, don't take everything. Don't clean out the patch, or else there's nothing there for next year. So pay attention. So when you're doing your wild crafting, situational awareness, so Bigfoot doesn't sneak up on you, and then just don't take everything when you find a patch. So, anyways, so let's start. You wanted to start with olive, I believe, tonight, which it's Oliver is the pagan correspondence, or the witch ingredient correspondence. So you want to just talk about olive, and then I'll come back and we'll pick it up.
I do. I have an olive tree that I winter over in my greenhouse, and I bought that olive tree when it was small, and people come over and they see it and they say, oh, how many olives do you get? And I've never yet harvested an olive from that tree, and they seem disappointed. And then I go into all the reasons why I don't really care so much about the olives as I do about the leaves. So olive leaf, olive leaf is an incredible healing and health tool. It reduces cardiovascular risk like arteriosclerosis. It lowers blood pressure. It helps treat type 2 diabetes. It supports weight loss. It is a super antioxidant. It eliminates free radicals. It boosts immunity. It's been shown to fight herpes, reduce inflammation, prevent cancer, and also to stop and prevent gingivitis. And there's a reason that the olive branch is so purported in the Bible as a symbol of peace. It really does open up the heart and really helps you learn to see things from a more loving perspective. And those are just a few of the things that olive leaf does, but it's really an amazing tool. And to your point before, all of the herbs and plants and medicines from nature are just like any other tool. You have to use them correctly. If you misuse them, they can hurt you.
Yeah. Often, moderation is a real thing. If you have a really, really bad headache, that doesn't mean to take a whole handful of painkillers. It just means you manage it just a little bit better. So on the pagan side, the olive tree is a tree of peace. It's a masculine tree, which is not really shocking, I think. but associated powers are generally healing, fertility, potency, fidelity, protection, immortality, prosperity, and success. As far as zodiac goes, it's associated with Aquarius, Aries, and Leo. Planets are Mercury, the Moon, and Sun. And it is air, earth, fire, water. So all the elements are contained within the one particular tree, because there's a lot of power to the olive tree. The branches, sign of peace. It's real. And the leaves themselves just bring good fortune. And then if you dream about an olive tree, it means you will generally have great happiness in that particular situation. And then dreaming of planting a tree means you may be involved in an upcoming marriage, not necessarily your own, just in some sort of relationship that's coming together like a marriage. If you dream of eating olives themselves, it means you're probably having a happy domestic life. It's probably Greco-Roman in origin. And it's also considered the tree of Athena, so associated with wisdom and prosperity and abundance. So even though you're not getting a lot of olives on your tree, it generally means you've got some prosperity. And that's not necessarily financial prosperity. It could be spiritual or emotional prosperity.
So true. So
right?
true.
Yes. Now, in leaf magic, you can... let's see, put it in like a protection or wealth, spell jars, that kind of thing, or you can put them in poppets or sachets for, to bring that abundance to yourself. And it's got a whole bunch of different names that go with it too. So it's a good plant. But again, like I've said in the past, make sure you do your research and just make sure you've got the right ingredient for what you're trying to accomplish. And it's a real thing. Because in some things
sure.
you can trade out some ingredients, like if you don't have certain ones. So say you don't have access to olive leaves, because not everybody does. We don't all have an olive tree in the backyard. But, for those that do, that's awesome. So if you don't have the olive leaf, what else can you use? So do your research, because there are some other, potential crossover for correspondences. So yeah. Let's see. What was next on the list? Let's see.
I believe it was comfrey.
All right. You want to go ahead and go for it?
For sure.
Okay.
Comfrey is an amazing tool also. Comfrey is really easy to propagate. It grows really well. The leaves of comfrey can be concentrated down into a tea and used for feeding plants. I think it's like a 25-10-10 equivalent. But on the medicinal side of things, it's known as a vulnerary and astringent. It's great for healing minor wounds, both internal and external, and can be used for minor injuries to the skin, will work to increase cell production, which is one of its primary awesome things, causing wounds to heal over rapidly. I should caution you, if you're using it for healing wounds, don't use it on deep wounds. Like if you have like a stab wound or a deep wound, you don't want to do that, because it will heal over so fast it'll actually enclose the wound before it can heal from the inside. Internally, it can be used for stomach and duodenal ulcers. Has a similar effect. It's got a great coating effect that it does. Kind of protective effect, and it's also known as bone set, and it's actually been scientifically proven to accelerate bone healing. I think as much as like a typical bone healing takes about 8 weeks, I think it accelerates it somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. So it's a tremendous healing tool for that too.
Yeah, it is.
It produces. What's that?
I said, yeah, that's awesome. I'm agreeing. Yay.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, your audio is just a little tough for me, but Anyway, it's an excellent tool, and I guess I'll let you pick it up so we don't interrupt each other.
Fine. I'm just nodding my head yes, and it's like, no, I need to talk more because those who are listening on the radio just can't really hear me nod my head. So yeah, comfrey is a really good one that you need to use in moderation. Just like a lot of the plants that we talk about, moderation's good, and you want to make sure you're not just going overboard or over harvesting, because I know here locally it grows wild, so I can go harvest it wild, and it's kind of considered a weed here. So yeah, I'm like, I'll take those weeds, bring them on. But it's considered soapwort on the magical side, so and it's got some saponin characteristics, so you could make soap from it technically. The botanical name, Symphytum officiale, or it's a perennial plant. It's ruled by Saturn, and the element is water. Soap root, that can make some sense. And then, let's see, it's sacred to Hecate, and it's used in protective manager to protect you against theft. So if you put a leaf, for instance, in your luggage when you're traveling, it'll help keep it from being lost or stolen. So that's something that someone asks you, hey, why do you have this leaf in there? It's like, oh, it's just supposed to make it smell good. Well, that's one way to kind of keep things on the down low. You can put it in a sachet in your vehicle to help keep your vehicle safe. So you hang it from your rear view mirror, and you can put it like peppermint or rose hips or whatever else that makes your car smell good. So it's like, hey, that's an herbal sachet that's supposed to make it smell good. So if you wrap your money in comfrey leaf for several days before you go to a casino or poker tournament, supposedly it'll at least keep your money coming back to you. You may not get rich, but you won't hopefully lose your shirt completely. The flowers, especially...
Better than going poor.
Right, exactly. If I break even at a casino, I feel like I have scored in a big way.
I'm not going near those places, but yeah.
Well, I've worked in them before, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going in with 10 people, $10, and that's all I've got. And once I spend $10, that's it. I'm done. See ya. And as long as I keep that kind of a thought process, I'm generally pretty good. So the blue comfrey flowers can be a substitute for borage or borage, depending on how you pronounce it. You can use it in a bath to cleanse you or relax you. And it can be burned with mugwort. So if you're going to put it in your pipe and smoke it, burn it with mugwort. And it'll help with divination and help with concentration. And also, if you put it in a spell for like letting go of things, that letting go of that uncomfortable past or that bad relationship, it'll help you, help cleanse that, get it out of your world. So, and comfrey originally comes from the symphytum, meaning grow together. So it's supposed to, bring people together also. So yeah, it's another one of those. It's a powerhouse type plant also, for on the medicinal side, without a doubt. And it's one
interesting that grow together correlation goes back to the bone stitch and that cell regeneration thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And anybody who's any kind of prepper, you have a prepper garden or something like that, comfrey is one of those things you're going to want in your growing kit or your garden or whatever, because there is so much for you. There's so much good there, so much potential benefit. And it's definitely worth having. And that doesn't take up that much space. You don't have to have a lot of it.
So true, and it propagates readily, and it also extracts nutrients from deep in the soil. So it's an excellent tool as far as farming and gardening goes as well.
Oh yeah, because you could probably mulch that back into the soil, and have all sorts of really good nutrients back on the top level of your soil. Because a lot of those plants only use like the top 4 inches, right?
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yeah. Yeah, and it's it's an excellent tool. Like oftentimes the plants don't get that deep in the soil, and so those deeper nutrients and trace minerals aren't pulled up. But comfrey is one of those that will dig deep and pull it up, along with the burdock. And actually, if you combine comfrey and burdock to make a tea, that is one of the most excellent fertilizers you can use. And I will warn you, dilute the crap out of it, because if you don't, you will burn plants with it. It is that strong.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That is really crazy. So if you are going to use it for that kind of a purpose, about how much comfrey per gallon of water do you think you should be using?
Uh, you can well, I could share a link on making the tea, but I dilute usually I dilute 10 to 1 at least from the tea to water.
Oh wow.
And I find if you go beyond that, you start really shifting the soil biology and the nutritional profile. You're going too hard, and that little bit will make such a difference. It's really a powerful tool as far as a grow nutrient goes.
Yeah, so definitely one to consider putting in your garden. And just like any other thing that you put in your garden, pay attention where you've got it, because some things don't grow together very well. And when it goes to seed, that's a good time to harvest the seeds, at least, so you don't have them spread all over the place. So a lot of these plants are considered weeds or invasive species in certain regions. So be aware that you're not bringing in something that's gonna, you don't want to bring ragweed into your yard. So we'll be right back. It's springtime. That was quick. Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between with Carlton of Farmacy Seeds. And we are talking about herbs and ingredients and such. So, yes. And, yeah, like it on YouTube, folks. I'm kidding. No, seriously, like it.
Do like it, definitely like it.
Yeah, like it. If you like it, say so. So, there you go. Now you can talk.
Or else.
So, yeah, Longbeard's in the house.
Hi.
Hey, Don, how are you?
Doing good, Carlton. Doing good. I've been loving the show. I caught the show last night. I'm loving the show tonight. This is good information, and it's really interesting, especially the part about the comfrey. I didn't know all of that. So, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing that to the table, partner.
Very glad to. Glad to be on the show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad to see such a positive response from people. So, yeah, this is a great marriage of knowledge bases for sure.
Yes, without a doubt, because it's a good thing, I think, and I wish I had thought of it a little sooner. So, but oh well.
Me too. But it is what it is, right?
Timing, everything is timing. So let's see, what is next? I think next we have a knotweed is what you had on your list.
Knotweed, yes.
Oh, you say that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, then I am going to let you just drive the boat for just a bit.
Okay. So Japanese knotweed is what a powerful medicinal tool also. Japanese knotweed specifically targets Lyme, specifically Leptospira and Treponema denticola types of Lyme diseases. It is considered to be one of the most effective herbal ways to lower or even eliminate Lyme disease and its symptoms. It supports the innate immune function to react to the infection caused by Lyme disease, and it kills the spirochetes that are found in difficult to reach areas by enhancing the blood flow, and helps other drugs to be more effective, including antibiotics. It's traditionally used to treat a number of conditions, including respiratory issues and skin conditions. It's used to stop bleeding and as a mouthwash as well. And there's some evidence that may specifically be helpful for gingivitis. So knotweed is high in something called resveratrol, and people may have heard of resveratrol. Now, that compound does all sorts of things for the human immune system, but resveratrol has also been used experimentally in plants using for the induced systemic pathway. And actually, resveratrol can really help plants create their own essential oils and defend themselves against pests and diseases. Now, if you go too far with it, it's kind of like adrenaline fatigue, and you can overdo it. Mm-hmm. So it has a lot of uses in that way as well. And also, you can eat the spring shoots. They're very similar to asparagus. You steam them and eat them. And as with all of these plants, I would look into the specifics of how to use them. You don't want to use them incorrectly, because many of these, if you use them incorrectly, they have compounds that can make you sick if you don't, like these need to be steamed, and they need to be steamed correctly. But this is one of those plants that grows along stream banks, and people often mistake it for bamboo, but it is not bamboo, although it looks like it. And then later in the season, it gets these big, beautiful white flowers on it, and it brings every single kind of pollinator you can imagine. And I have Japanese knotweed here that I planted, and every year when that comes out, my honeybees are in it, and I see pollinators of every single type and variation species. And there's a video on my YouTube channel you can check out on that. It's amazing. I hear that thing buzzing from about 150 feet away
wow.
in the fall. So
that's awesome.
I'll let you pick it up from there.
Now, on the Pagan side, there's not as much. I was just looking at the pictures because I wanted to see what it was a little bit more. So it's an annual plant. Its planetary ruler is Saturn. It's associated with the element of Earth. And it's really good in binding spells, health spells, and cursing, which makes sense. You want to curse someone with bad health and bind them to it, then this would be the one to do. But yeah, Just another one of those that you need to pay attention to. And even when you're handling it, it's not one you really want to smoke or use as a smudge type, because it is astringent and it could negatively impact your lungs. So I suppose that would be a good cautionary point on that, is to make sure that you're using the different herbs correctly, because if you don't, there's a potential for you to hurt yourself. Yeah, and that's just that's true for any tool that you might have. Just pay attention. So, and on the witch side, it's called sparrow's tongue, and I guess because of the shape of the leaf. So, but yeah, it's another one of those really good ones to have around, specifically if you're doing healing spells or binding spells, or if you're a little into the grayer or blacker arts, I suppose, than cursing. But yeah, you can curse someone with good health. And stop and think about that for a little bit. If you curse someone with good health, when are they going to die? So if you cursed them with good health, are they? Is that really a curse, or is that a blessing? You know. So that's one of the reasons why I have issues with people saying, "Oh, well, I'm a white witch and I don't ever do this or I don't ever do that." It's like, but wait a minute. You can bless someone with long life. So if they live to be 125 and they're on a respirator for the last 50 years of their life, is that a blessing or a curse?
Yeah, for sure. So, it's all perspective, isn't it?
It really is. It really, really is. So yeah, pay attention and yeah, make sure that you're using the right tool for the right job again.
Well, and that's I believe it's a Chinese curse. May you live long. May you live forever. And that would be like a kind of a curse in Norse too. Is may you vanquish all your enemies. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
Yeah. And there's that other Chinese curse too. May you live in interesting times.
That we are right now.
Yeah, that one is one that people don't realize could be a curse. Because interesting times. I think we definitely do live in some of those, without a doubt.
For sure.
Without a doubt. All right, so. My homework wasn't quite done, so I'm catching up a little bit, guys. So it looks like next, where are we at on time? I want to make sure that I don't lose. Okay, so looks like
we're actually doing really well on time tonight.
Yeah, well, we kind of got to chatting last night, but that's okay. But we had some really big ones last night. Elder was a big deal. A lot of information on the elder tree. So, so blackberry. You want to talk about blackberry?
Blackberry.
Yeah, take it away.
So, all right. So, just a little side note here: the blackberry plant is capable of germinating seeds without pollination, apomictic propagation. Due to this ability, it's given rise to many apomictic microseeds that can be very difficult to distinguish from each other. Anyway, in herbal medicine, the blackberries are considered one species with the scientific name Rubus fruticosus cole. My Latin is not great. Where cole stands for many apomitic microspecies. So on the health side of things, oh no, where did I lose? Let's see. The fruits fully ripe contain organic acids, sugar compounds, anthocyanins, pectins, niacin, flavonoids, mucus substances, carotenoids, vitamin C, and several B vitamins. The leaves, roots, and bark are used medicinally, while the fruits are mainly used for culinary purposes. The astringent or constricting effect of the leaves has been known for a long time, and writers of ancient herbal literature such as Hippocrates.
I'm not the only one who can't talk tonight.
I'm stumbling over my own tongue tonight. Anyway, the blackberry leaves, root, bark, and roots contain relatively large amounts of tannins with astringent properties and have been used internally by herbal medicines to treat digestive ailments such as diarrhea, dysentery, and gastroenteritis. Traditional uses also include the treatment of illnesses and ailments such as bleeding, slow-healing wounds, fever, inflammation, cystis, gout, infertility, vaginal discharge, flu, colds, and cough. Externally, the blackberry leaves have been used to treat eczema and other rashes, acne, oily skin, injuries, hemorrhoid, fungal infections, and pain and itch of insect bites and stings. An extract made from leaves can be used as a gargle for inflammation in the mouth, throat, mouth ulcers, gum inflammation, and a sore throat. The fully ripe fruits of the blackberry can be eaten raw or cooked for juice or jams, liquors, and wines. The taste is strong and aromatic, vary slightly from apomictic microspecies to another. They're high in vitamin C and sugar compounds and were therefore eaten in the past to treat scurvy. There are some thought that the berry is used for increasing levels of red blood cells and may benefit those suffering from anemia. The berries have a high content of antioxidants and could have a protective effect against some types of cancer. Due to the content of organic acids and pectin, ripe blackberries have a mild laxative effect, but the immature berries contain relatively large amounts of tannins and therefore have the opposite effect. So
it's another one of those
that's
really,
a stutter.
yeah, it's another big one, because it's been around for a while. Berries are huge. I love blackberry wine. Personally, I've made blackberry wine.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
Me too.
It's if you're going to grow blackberries on your property, often it'll attract the fey folk, which is why it's called, I think, sea bright. So because you can see the brightness. If you eat a handful of blackberries before you do magic work or working with the fairy realm, it opens you up to that experience a little bit more. You can burn dried leaves in spell work to attract money, or you can sprinkle the leaves around your property to bring luck. Now be careful, because if you're using bramble version or thorned berries, that you don't spread the thorns all over the place. I actually can't seem to grow blackberries here. I've tried 3 years in a row. I gave up this year. I didn't even try, because the last 3 years, every time I paid too much for canes that I wasn't able to grow. So I think it's partly my placement and timing, and I don't know.
I have to say the blackberry plant, man, they can be really hard to propagate. I've had similar difficulties with them in the past, and I found if you go out and try to plant them in a spot, even if you set them up as good as you can, sometimes they just don't take. But I think a part of that is there's a biodiversity that's needed for them. Again, these are one of those ones like the elderberries where they grow between the edges of forest or in forest where dappled sunlight comes down in, and there's tremendous eco-diversity there. We're very lucky we have them here on the property. They're just right above the spring pond here. And that's one of my favorite things when I go down to check on the ram pump in the summertime, is to stop and hit that blackberry bush and grab a handful of those things. They are so delicious. Okay. And it's funny you mentioned the blackberry wine.
You're spoiled.
We used to have a tremendous amount of them on the property up in our property in the Catskills in Delhi, New York. And we picked them and made blackberry wine every year. And that was one of my favorite things as a kid, to get the blackberry wine out in like February when it's cold and nasty out. And have a sip. Man, what a wonderful treat that is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I do want to make cordial one of these days with some blackberries, but we'll see. He's nodding his head yes, and so Don's in the background no, shaking his head no. So in European folk medicine, arching blackberry canes were believed to have just magical properties, and so people would either go underneath the arches or pass children through the branches for cures or for blessings. And the bushes themselves were to protect against evil. So stop and think about it. If you plant a blackberry bush and it grows and it's full of thorns underneath your window, odds are pretty good people are not going to climb through your window to
you
break
won't
in.
be trimming the verge.
No. Exactly.
Let me just say, if you've ever tried to pick blackberries, they are one of the nastiest thorns to pick through. Those things will cut you up. You'll look like you got in a fight with a dog man when you're done.
And a dog man.
Yes. Yeah, because those berries are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's so worth it.
Yeah. So you can...
It is so worth it.
Oh, yes. If you take some of those canes, the prickly canes especially, and you're wearing heavy duty gloves, you can make a wreath with those canes, and you can hang it over your front door, on your front door, for protective energy, or around your altar, for instance. Always use blackberry when you're casting money spells, because it does our abundance, prosperity. I mean, think about it. I feel pretty rich if I've got a whole basket full of, yummy berries. So, yeah. If you
So true, and
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say so true, and also it's funny that you mentioned that making the wreath. Blackberries remind me of like the barbed wire of the natural world,
Yeah.
as far as protection goes.
Yeah, they are.
Concertina wire.
Exactly. So if you can use the dry the fruit and powder it to put in potions. So especially if you're going to drink a potion, this would be one that I would put into a potion that you could drink, if for no other reason than they taste good. So blackberry is used to invoke the goddess Bridget, and she generally is a goddess of poetry, healing, sacred wells, smithcraft. So having a blackberry canes above your spring makes total sense to me, without a doubt, because that's where they should be. So yeah, and if you're going to harvest the plant parts for a ritual, you need to do it during the waning moon rather than the waxing moon, just for the magical side of it, to make sure you've got the correct energy imbued into the parts. So
yeah, could you maybe just touch on the moon part of that, because I don't know if people know about like the different phases of the moon, and how how there's different parts of the moon correlate to different parts of life and growing cycles.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with
So generally speaking, if you think of the moon is corresponded to the triple goddess, in part because there's the crescent moon on each side of the full moon in the center. So when the moon is waxing or gaining in brilliance, that means you're going from the new moon to the full moon. And when it's waning, that means it's coming from the full moon and going to the new moon. And so if you're going to set your intention for growth, for instance, you set those intentions at the new moon, because you're going to grow into that potential, to grow into that energy.
So you want it while the moon's getting larger.
Yeah, so you're
waxing is when the moon is getting smaller.
Right.
Gotcha.
You're backwards.
Right.
I should what?
You're backwards.
I am?
Yeah.
Okay, so waxing is getting bigger.
Moon. All right, make sure I've got it right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well, waning, yeah. To wane would be to be less.
Right.
Yes, okay. You want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing, because you just confused me.
Well, see, I'm not a very good pagan.
Yeah, you don't want it backwards.
Yes. So waxing is getting bigger, waning is getting smaller. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, and then if you have something that you're trying to eliminate for your life, for instance, say you've left a relationship and you're trying to move on, or you're going to do a cleansing ritual or something like that, it's good to do that when the moon is full, because then as the moon's energy decreases, moving towards the new moon, that the energy, or the negative energy, is decreasing. Chris is just being all waxy and
well,
stuff.
actually, it makes sense. So it's wax on and wane off.
Is there a Garth in there somewhere?
Party on, Garth.
Oh, that's funny. That was funny. I'm sorry.
Party on, radical excellent.
That was awesome.
And that is why our show generally, I've run out of time and I don't know where I'm at. So because we just get to chatting.
So blackberry.
Yeah, so blackberry is just really good for you. It's let's see. In dream symbology, blackberry generally represents loss or sorrow or remorse. So if you're pricked in your dream on the blackberry thorn, it means your enemies are perhaps conspiring with your friends against you. So be aware. And then if those thorns draw blood, it means you're probably going to see the negative end of a deal. So it's generally not a good sign if you're, negotiating a contract or something. It's you're not going to have good luck with that particular contract. So yeah. Let's see. BlackBerry can be used to return evil to your enemies. So if you feel like you've been cursed or something like that, and you want to do a ritual to send it, return to sender, yes, you can definitely do that. But BlackBerry is one of those elements that you would use to get that done, to do that process. So you just make sure you research your spell work and your ingredients so you have the best.
So this is the money, money berry.
The money berry, yep. And just so Ethan asked if there's moonberry, and generally no, that's a more gameplay rather than thing. So yeah. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh, there's so much with BlackBerry. It's used up in so many different rituals with many, many different traditions. Because BlackBerry is something that's found kind of all around the world.
Right. It just grows wild in most areas.
Yeah, it's a world-known yumminess. You can't go wrong with blackberries and cream.
Next.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm hungry now.
Yeah.
I've had a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
I'm ready for some blackberry wine.
there you go.
Now,
Right.
blackberry wine, not cordial. Cordial's too sweet. Ugh, yeah. Blackberry wine.
I like the cordial. I like the wine. I like the schnapps. I like anything blackberry. You could
Bring it
lure
on.
me into a trap with that.
Come on. We have free blackberry wine.
Blackberry ice cream.
Sold.
Blackberry pie.
Sold.
Blackberry pie.
Bye, Carlton.
Yeah, blackberry's just awesome. So the next one is valerian. So valerian is ram's head, is the witch spell ingredient. So Lucky goes, thanks guys, I'm now gonna have to tear up some strawberries and blueberries.
Not the blueberries. The blueberries take too long to grow back.
Yeah, but strawberries.
Transplant.
And don't tear up the blueberries because those are a super powerful tool as well.
I think she's.
So are the strawberries, but blueberries are a tremendous plant as far as health.
She's gonna go eat some. She's gonna tear them up. Eat them.
It seems like we cause Lucky to have issues with food on a regular basis, either to eat them or to have them.
Settle down, Veruca Salt.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, you want to talk about valerian a little bit?
I do. Valerian, also known as Valeria officinalis, is a flowering plant native to Europe and Asia. The root of the plant has long been used as an herbal remedy to treat insomnia. The use of valerian root dates back to the Greek and Roman Empire and was noted by Hippocrates to treat headaches, nervousness, trembling, and heart palpitations. Valerian contains a substance known as valerianic acid. Wow, I really can't talk tonight. That is believed to affect the gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA receptors in the brain. It is believed that one of the purposes of GABA is to control fear or anxiety experienced when nerve cells are overexcited. By doing so, valerian may act as a mild sedative and anxiety-reducing drug. Health benefits. Can be used to treat a variety of health conditions, including insomnia, anxiety, headaches, digestive problems, menopause problems, post-exercise muscle pain and fatigue. And the evidence supporting these claims is pretty solid as well. And I know there are other things that it does, but I don't remember what they are, and I don't have that Matthew Wood book in front of me at the moment. But I'm sure you could probably go on about valerian all night because it's another super powerful tool.
It is a super powerful tool, yes, but generally it's associated. So it's got two different associations. It's got one that's kind of black and one that's kind of white. So often in having had goats and sheep in my world in the past, I get this one. Its magical reputation is generally for evil, and also protective. So if anyone's ever pissed off a goat with horns, you know what I'm talking about.
I hate goats.
But it's used for hexing often, or to uncross a hexing, and it can destroy jinxes, especially when burned with a yellow candle. It's also known as vandal root. Let's see. All heal, Amantilla, Capin's tail, cat's valerian, foo, garden heliotrope, garden valerian, genicularis, marinella, etc., etc. There's all sorts of different things in here. So, but some break time. We'll be right back.
As we will, so mote it be the sound forever done.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are adventuring off into the spaces between. I've been told I need to provide more music for bumpers. So if anybody has any custom music they would like me to profile, please let me know.
Profile?
Email me at wildepaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY at gmail.com.
That would be a feature.
Yeah, feature, profile, put it up.
Show appropriate.
Show appropriate. It needs to be kind of pagan-esque in nature, so yeah. Because either that or I'm going to have to figure out how to sing.
Oh, God.
And yeah. I could, I guess. But, so yeah, back to Valerian. So yeah, it's, people are, so the valerian root, just real quick, if you are wanting someone to have bad luck with their car, you put some valerian root in the car. Seriously, yeah. And now this is supposedly a thing. I don't know. If you want to keep away unwanted visitors, put root chips across your front steps. So if you want those religiously biased door knockers to avoid you.
How about black-eyed children?
Yeah, black-eyed children. Yeah, unwanted visitors, dogmen. Yeah, I could totally get it. Mm-hmm. But when
Check
you
all
do
the
the
above.
yeah, DL the above. Some people will wrap the valerian root and a photo of their significant other in tinfoil to prevent fights.
Oh.
So if you're looking for a little bit of
Interesting.
relationship bliss, that's good. You keep it in you have this packet on you for about 3 days, and then you drop it into your running water like your local creek or stream. So all of that negativity can just flow away down the mountain and you don't have it anymore.
So can you do the same thing with like horny goat weed?
I don't know what to tell you about that. So,
Sorry, I just had to.
horny goat read. I don't.
That might have a counteractive effect. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the next one, since we're moving right along, that I wanted to talk about was wild lettuce, because
Oh yeah, nature's opium. Well,
nature's
I guess opium's natural too, but
well,
still.
it's devil's lettuce. But
Devil's lettuce. Yes.
yeah, it's opium lettuce is what it's called, and it's kind of a big deal, and so if you see something in chat,
Yeah.
can you point it out?
I'll
Because
see what I can do.
Okay, so wild lettuce is called a Titan's blood on the witchcraft side. So I don't know. Have you had a chance to look at this one yet, Carlton?
I did, and I could dance on it briefly if you want.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, wild lettuce. Let's see. Letusa virosa is a plant of the Letusa genus, ingested often for its mild analgesic and sedative effects. It is related to the common lettuce. It is often called wild lettuce, bitter lettuce, Letu virus, opium lettuce, poisonous lettuce, tall lettuce, great lettuce, or Rakutu karunu so. Wild lettuce is a natural remedy sourced from Letuca virosa plant. Extracts of this plant's sap, seeds, and leaves are typically used in wild lettuce products. Touted as a natural treatment for a wide range of health problems, wild lettuce is said to lower stress and relieve pain. Benefits-wise, certain compounds found in wild lettuce appear to have pain-relieving and sedative effects, according to preliminary research conducted on animals. I'll skip the whole study thing. Let's see. When used as an alternative medicine, it is said to have an herbal remedy for the following health conditions: asthma, atherosclerosis, cough, insomnia, joint pain, and menstrual pain. Wild lettuce is also used to stimulate circulation, and when applied directly to the skin, oil extracted from the seeds of wild lettuce is thought to offer sanitizing benefits. In addition, some individuals consume wild lettuce recreationally for its potentially mind-altering effects.
Wow.
Supposedly similar in action to opium, and used as an opium alternative by physicians in the 19th century, wild lettuce is said to possess sedative and hypnotic properties. Caveats: because wild lettuce and its health effects have been tested in very few scientific studies, the safety or long-term regular use regular use of wild lettuce products such as dietary supplements is unknown. However, there's some concern that wild lettuce may trigger a number of side effects, including accelerated heart rate, difficulty breathing, dizziness, and extreme drowsiness. And in some cases, applying wild lettuce to the skin may lead to skin irritation. Additionally, people with benign prostatic hyperplasia or narrow-angle glaucoma should avoid the use of wild lettuce. It is thought the use of wild lettuce may aggravate these conditions. Because wild lettuce may alter the function of the central nervous system, it should also be avoided for at least 2 weeks prior to undergoing surgery. Moreover, wild lettuce should not be used in combination with medications that affect the central nervous system, such as medications like clozapam and lorazepam. Good Lord, those are horrible. It's important to keep in mind that these supplements haven't been tested for safety or dietary supplements, etc., etc. Let's see. And it goes into other alternatives. But yeah, it's a powerful one. And I know people who have chronic pain, fibromyalgia, stuff like that, and they use this as an alternative to opium because it's not addictive like opium is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really a good one, I suppose, if you've got pain issues, because it's not opium, it's not an opiate, so it doesn't have those same addictive tendencies. It's
not illegal yet.
Yeah, it's still legal.
Yet.
So yeah, it's I don't know, it's a tropane containing plant. So yeah, the pharma meds. It's ruled by Saturn, and in Egypt it's associated with the god Min, which is a fertility deity, similar to Pan. And during festivals to celebrate Min, apparently this god was so big that they put him on a piece of wild lettuce to parade him around as part of the procession. I don't know why. The Egyptians did use it as an aphrodisiac, but they were told that if they took too much of it, it would make them dumb. So yeah, just be careful. Too many aphrodisiacs, dumb down the brain. I guess. It's good for meditation.
That does tend to distract you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking with the wrong brain. Is that what that is? Let's see.
Yep.
It's used in meditation to help calm and center the mind and assist in astral journeys and path workings, or it can be added to love potions. Yes, because it's an aphrodisiac. That would make a certain amount of sense. So the Greeks, of course, embraced it as aphrodisiacs. And it was part of, the standard diet for priests. Now, supposedly, though, they felt it would cool their carnal appetites. It is a hyoscyamine, similar to other nightshades, so it's in that same family. But it's, let's see, it's the dried sap. Is what is associated with the opiates. It's considered a latex also. And apparently, if your opiates are laced with something, it could be laced with this because it does give you similar reactions or behaviors to opiates, but without some of those reactions or addictions. So it's similar to not pot. It's a legal marijuana substitute. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, I didn't know some of those things about it either. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's been used in the past to mellow out kids with ADD, and it was used during religious rituals in early Americans. Going into meditative trances, visions, and so for that vivid dreaming. So yeah, the devil's lettuce. This is the real devil's lettuce, not marijuana. This is it right here, Titan's blood. It's one of those that's really good for you health wise and spiritually and just for magic in general. So But again, do your research. Make sure you're not taking any of those medications that will react negatively with anything that might act like an opiate, because I'm not going to tell you to take any of this. This is for your educational and entertainment purposes only.
These are
I'm not a
not. These
doctor.
are not medical
Versus
claims.
only.
Yeah. This is for entertainment, and so do your research. Make sure this is before you take any herbal supplements of any kind. I'm going to the small print here. Make sure you do your research. Talk to your
Trusted health professional.
trusted health professional. I was going to say drug dealer of choice, but yeah, I suppose.
You gotta be careful with them too.
Right? So just make sure you're talking to someone who really does understand the different interactions, and make sure you're getting the best information possible. A lot of your pharmacists do actually, if you give them the Latin name, they'll tell you whether or not it's going to interact negatively with something that you're already taking. So,
Yeah, and I just want to mention here that always try to remember when you're working with any sort of ailment or anything like that. You have to remember you're working with the system as a whole, and there's a lot of other interactions going on you may not be aware of. So that's why you should really do your research deep and consult someone who has more knowledge than you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You want to improve your health and happiness, and not make a mistake and cause yourself a real problem. That Datura that you mentioned before, that one can be very, very bad. And if you go look up some of the stories of people who've taken too much of that or didn't take it correctly, boy, some of those people have been ruined for life because of it. So be cautious and discerning.
Yeah, it's similar to going through a windshield without a helmet. So just be careful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So next on our list is garlic. So garlic
Yes.
is known as an eagle, or poor man's treacle, which I thought was interesting. Are both names for witch ingredients. Stinkweed, clove garlic, ajo. Those are all
Ajo, yeah.
Just be aware. And then, you want to take it away, because this one's a really good one, too.
I do, and I want to tie this into a few other plants people might not know are in the same family. So garlic is Allium sativum, but the entire Allium family is garlic, onions, leeks, wild leeks, ramps, and there's several others, and I can't remember all of them, but they're all in the same family. And they're all very, very powerful tools as far as healing and health. And of course, most of you probably know them as a great cooking herb. And many of these medicinal plants are best used cooked in with your food, so that they're more available to your body, and they have the effect that you're looking for, rather than being too intense. So that said, garlic belongs to the genus Allium and is closely related to the onion, Rachio, an onion found in Asia, scallion, chive, leek, and shallot. It has been used by humans for thousands of years and was used in ancient Egypt for both culinary purposes and its health and therapeutic effects. So, let me get down to the other part here. Uses, benefits, here we go. Lung cancer risk. People who ate raw garlic at least twice a week during the 7-year period had a 44% lower risk of developing lung cancer, according to one study conducted at the Yangtze Provincial Center for Disease Control and Prevention in China. Brain cancer. Organosulfur compounds found in garlic have been identified to be effective in destroying the cells in glioblastoma, a type of deadly brain tumor. Hip osteoarthritis. Women whose diets were rich in allium vegetables had lower levels of osteoarthritis. King's College London, University of East Anglia, both in England, reported. Let's see. It's also a very powerful antibiotic. Diallyl sulfide, a compound in garlic, was 100 times more effective than two popular antibiotics in fighting Campylobacter bacterium, according to a study published in the Journal of Antimicrobial Chemotherapy. Heart protection. Diallyl trisulfide, a compound of garlic oil, help protect the heart during cardiac surgery and after a heart attack. Researchers at Emory University School of Medicine found. They also believe that diallyl trisulfide could be used as a treatment for heart failure. Hydrogen sulfide gas has been shown to protect the heart from damage. However, it's a volatile compound. It's also good for high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Let's see. This is an interesting one. Researchers at Ankara University investigated the effects of garlic extract supplementation on the blood lipid fat profile of patients with high blood cholesterol. The study was published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry. The study involved 23 volunteers, all with high cholesterol. 13 of them had high blood pressure. They were divided into 2 groups. They took garlic extract for 4 months and were regularly checked for blood lipid parameters. At the end of the 4 months, the research concluded garlic extract supplementation improves blood lipid profile, strengthens blood antioxidant potential, and causes significant reductions of systolic and diastolic pressures. It also leads to a decrease in the level of oxidative product, basically oxidation, in the blood samples. It demonstrates reduced oxidation reactions in the body. It's good for prostate cancer, alcohol-induced liver injury, preterm or premature delivery, and also is helping prevent colds, flus, and that sort of thing. I should mention, if you're going to use garlic or any of the allium family, you want to cut it up, or you really want to crush it up. But if you can't crush it up, you can cut it up. And you want to wait about 5 minutes after you do that before you use it. And it's best consumed raw for this. And the reason for that is there's a compound called alicillin in garlic, and that actually doesn't get activated until garlic has been crushed. So that's just a touch on it, and it's actually another one of these plants that I can go on all night about.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good benefits to garlic for the health.
That's kind of cool. I didn't know about that crushing it though. That actually activates, and then let it sit for a minute, and then roasted garlic all night long, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. To the max.
Yeah, garlic is good.
Garlic dipped in dark chocolate. Yes.
Are you high?
Yes. See?
Yes. Yeah, it's actually good. I know, it sounds crazy. It's good.
It sounds great.
Crazy isn't quite the word that comes to mind, but
disgusting.
Yeah, that actually. Yeah. Bleh. Chocolate. You don't corrupt my chocolate with garlic.
You got your garlic in my chocolate.
Right?
Don't corrupt my chocolate. Don't corrupt my garlic with chocolate.
So, on that note, garlic is associated with Hecate, and it's associated with the element fire. Is a very masculine plant. So
it's because it's so strong.
Yeah. Generally, you use it for like courage, exorcisms, hex breaking, lust protection, sexual potency, and strength. So yeah, if you think garlic on your date's breath is bad, maybe not, depending on what your goal is there. It's ruled by the planet Mars, and in spell work, it's generally used for anti-theft, healing, and yeah, the exorcism, which doesn't surprise me because, well, it's garlic. Lust is not one I would have guessed, though, just because, yeah, garlic is...
You don't like garlic breath?
You know, that...
You know, too much, though. Go ahead, Carlton.
I was just saying the solution for that is you take your date out to dinner, you both have a dish with garlic in it, now you both have garlic breath, and then, you know, you're not offended by each other's breath because you both have the same breath.
There you go. So garlic, or no, you follow it with a cucumber chaser. Cucumber cleanses your palate.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that works too.
Garlic is known to be very, very protective. For a new home, it's good to gift braids of garlic to ward off thieves and or evil. While sleeping, place it under your pillow. You can put it in a wreath above your bed. Eating or wearing garlic is said to improve agility, courage, and physical endurance. You can use pretty much all parts of it, the bulb, stem, flowers, etc. You can put in an amulet for protection. You can burn the powdered herb to break spells or curses, which I've set garlic on fire. This is true. Place with silver and a sachet of leather to bring money. You could scatter it around your home to promote lust. And apparently it kills ticks. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that, but that's cool.
Yeah, supposedly it kills ticks in like 30 minutes. Often in pet food for that purpose.
It's also used. It's also used for deworming. It wipe out all sorts of parasites, but it's great for deworming cats and dogs.
Oh.
I'm not sure on dogs actually, but I know for cats it works excellent for that. And there's something else I was going to say, but I lost the train of thought. So just go ahead.
Well, it's good for you. Let's see. So, ancient Greeks used to place garlic at crossroads as a supper for Hecate, and also to ward off demons at the same time. Greek midwives would hang the garlic in birthing rooms to keep the evil spirits away so they wouldn't possess the newborns. Athletes used to consume large amounts of garlic before competitions. I guess that's one way to kill your enemy. Soldiers would eat garlic before going into battle. Roman soldiers ate it because it gave them courage and inspiration. And the Egyptian slaves were fed garlic to keep up their strength. Interestingly, Tibetan monks have been forbidden from entering monasteries if they eat garlic because it's associated with, demons and Hecate. So, let's see. If you dream that there is garlic in your house, whether smell or physically, it means you're going to discover hidden secrets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
So garlic is not
Very
just
interesting.
good for you, it's good. It's good for you. So, yeah.
In every and all way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, it's just good to cook with. I probably eat a lot of garlic. I make hummus. It's really good with my chickpeas. Yep. So, yeah, and again, if you're going to use something like garlic to deter fleas or ticks, pay attention to how much you're putting it in, or how much you're putting into your pet food. It doesn't take
tiny
very
amount.
much. Yeah.
You don't need much at all.
Yeah, you really don't. So just be aware. And then let's see, where are we at on the clock? Clock says we have 4 minutes, and then it's our last break already. Right? Isn't that what that is?
That's what it says.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
a couple of really fast
flying.
hours.
Yeah.
It really is. So let's BS for a couple minutes before we go into Colt's Foot, the next one. So yeah, any thoughts?
Fantastic.
I
would love.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's all
I was
yours.
just saying, I'd love to go into. I'm sorry, we're getting Skype glitched. I'd love to go in very briefly into phases of the moon regarding growing plants, because
Okay.
I think it sort of relates to, we touched on the moon before, so
Yes.
if I could do that in the next couple minutes, that would be awesome.
Go.
It's all yours. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right. Okay, good. New moon. At the new moon, the lunar gravity pulls water up and causes seeds to swell and burst. This factor, coupled with the increasing moonlight, creates balanced root and leaf growth. The first quarter is the best time for planting above ground bearing annual crops that produce their seeds outside the fruit. Examples are lettuce, spinach, celery, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and grain crops. So this is the waxing side of the moon coming from the new moon. Second quarter of the moon, we're still in waxing. In the second quarter, the gravitational pull is less, but the moonlight is strong. Creating healthy leaf growth is generally a good time for planting, especially 2 days before the full moon. The types of crops that prefer the second quarter are annuals that produce above ground, but their seeds form inside the fruit, such as beans, melons, peas, peppers, squash, and tomatoes. Plant just before the full moon to get the benefits of peak moisture. Now we're at the full moon. Full moon. The third and fourth quarters are after the full moon when the light is waning and decreasing, the energy is drawing down. The gravitation pull is high, creating more moisture in the soil, but the moonlight is decreasing, putting energy into the roots. This is a favorable time for planting root time for crops such as beets and carrots. They mistyped that. It is also good for perennials, bulbs, and transplanting because of the active root growth. Prune in there. Prune in Scorpio. The fourth quarter of the moon In the fourth quarter, there is decreased gravitational pull and moonlight. This is considered a resting period. This is also the best time to cultivate, harvest, transplant, fertilize, and prune. Mow lawns in the third or fourth quarter to retard growth. Use the water signs for deep watering of shrubs and trees.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. So I've noticed in chat there's some folks talking about poisons and garlic is bad for dogs and all that, and same with onions. And yes, if you feed them too much, it is poisonous. So there's a lot of plant life out there that is very toxic to people and livestock and animals in quantity, but small doses are often very beneficial. Like AKC says, if you keep it under 15 grams of garlic per kilogram of body weight, generally it's not going to be toxic to your dogs. Now, some dogs do have some sensitivity, so just be aware.
Yep.
Your average clove of supermarket garlic is about 3 to 7 grams, so your dog would have to eat quite a few of those cloves to get really sick. So just be aware, because store-bought is not necessarily the same as homegrown. So we'll be right back.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, all the cauldron cries that singeth unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And tonight I'm joined by Carlton from Farmacy Seeds Network. And we are talking about some of those herbs and random things out in the world today that we have pagan names for and we have real names for. And as I mentioned last night, there's a lot of weirdness out there. There's like you see spells or rituals or that require certain ingredients, like bat's wing, for instance. And is it a real thing, or what does that really mean? So doing some research, and I'm putting the information together, and it'll show up as a Book of Shadows type pages for the individual ingredients or herbs on the Patreon page. So if you want to check that out, I will put at least one of them in as a free option so you can see what they look like. But they're good. You should check it out. Good information to have, and they should be printable. So if you want them for your own purposes, even just to have the information, even if you're not into having a Book of Shadows laying around, because there's some really good stuff here. And I get it. And let's see. And yeah, just pay attention with your wild crafting. Gotta, be selective in your harvesting. And 'cause some of the things that we talk about, like last night we touched on, I think, at least 2 different things that are endangered. And so don't be clearing out, entire groves of things just because you want to have that stuff, because that's not okay.
What was the thing about ramps last night?
Ramps. You want to talk about ramps a little bit?
Yeah, I could do that. The thing about ramps, sustainably harvesting ramps, you don't even need to dig the root up. Actually, it's just as effective as far as flavor, and it doesn't take much ramps at all to really flavor a dish nicely and to get the cleansing and tonic effects of it. You can actually just harvest the leaves and leave the roots. Most of the allium species propagate from the root. In fact, garlic, when we plant garlic, in fact, I've got a clue of garlic right here. When we plant garlic, this is a whole bulb of garlic, but we just break this open and we take one clove out, and each clove that we plant becomes a new garlic bulb. And so it doesn't take much. With the ramps, they grow in little patches in the forest, and they're in these very diverse ecosystems. You don't want to go in and harvest a whole patch out. If you're going to harvest the root, which you can do, take a few from each patch. Go through and pick a few from each patch and put some back so that they're growing there next time, so that someone else can have some, so that the animals can have some. This comes back to just not using things to excess. I think here in America we have this tendency to want to do everything over the top and to excess, and you really don't. You don't want to do that. It leads to destruction ultimately. And if we keep destroying our ecosystems at the rate that we're doing it, we're not going to have anything to eat. We're not going to have anything left. So let's not do that. And on that note, if you're going to the woods and you like going into the woods and you think that's a beautiful place to go, that means take your garbage back out with you. So when you go into the woods again, there's not garbage laying around. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many beautiful natural places I've been, and I come in there and I find garbage all over the place. Now, I have made it my practice when I go into a place like that and I see garbage laying there, I pack that garbage out because I don't want to see it there, and I don't want that example set there.
Right.
And we've done a lot of cleanup projects. We did a survival camp for kids up in Lake George one year, and you would not believe the amount of garbage that we pulled out of the lake up there. if I can dig those pictures up, maybe I'll find a place to share them somewhere. But be sustainable. Think from a conscious perspective about what you're doing. Don't take too much. Leave some for someone else, and leave some so you have some next time you go.
Yeah, it's sustainability is a big deal when it comes to wildcrafting.
Right.
In good husbandry or conservatorship rather than anything else. If you wouldn't live like that, why would you treat the world around you outside of your home like
Right.
that? So yeah, take your garbage, or you don't. If you're just going to park your car and walk 20 yards, you don't have to take a lot of garbage with you. So just and yeah, don't over harvest, because that's how species die out when it comes to plants, or there just won't be anything left.
So
Yeah.
but you can.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carlton.
no, go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask a question about ramps. I mean, they do. You can domesticate ramps, can't you? I mean, they're sold all around the world.
You can, but it's a tricky ecosystem. I've had people tell me that you can't. You can, but you have to. This goes back to my whole farming concept, and it's funny that you asked that question, because I just happened to see Justin Goodearth in the chat mentioned about talking about the ecosystem network on my farm, and it goes back to study and mimic nature, and that's what our farming practices should be. That's what our living practices should be. And if you stick with that concept, you're going to have a hard time going wrong. But if you look around at what we as humans have done, and especially in the past 50 or 100 years, we have not been studying mimicking nature. We've been trying to conquer and stomp and destroy nature, and then we wonder why nature is fighting back at us. And, we really need to go back to that mentality of understanding that ecosystems are very diverse, and not thinking that we understand them entirely, because we really don't. We have a tendency to look at things under a microscope and isolate one thing and say, "Oh, I understand it." No, you don't. That's part of an ecosystem, and it's very important that we keep that in mind.
Yes.
Yes.
So I hope I answered your question, Don. I kind of went off on a rant there, but I really want to drive that point home.
Well,
No, that's okay. You know that Brent and I both go on rants all the time. So you're here. You're here to give us your perspective and your knowledge, and that's part of your perspective and your knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that.
hmm and things are connected. No matter how you look at it, we're all connected one way or another. Whether it's the 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon, that kind of thing. It's probably 3 degrees nowadays, but it, if you take too much from one place, you're going to have an overabundance of others. I've seen it, as a farmer and someone who goes hunting. If you see a lot of rabbits, for instance, one season, the next season you're not going to see very many. They're either going to die off because there's not enough food for them, or perhaps it means there's a predator deficiency in the area. So, the next year maybe there won't be very many rabbits because there's become an overabundance of predators, or maybe there's become an underabundance of food for them. So it's all related. It's all connected. Which led me to a point I did want to make, is when we talk about herbs and things that we may be ingesting to help our health, and a lot of these will, these different chemicals are also related. For instance, if you're taking calcium because you're worried about osteoporosis, you need to make sure that your vitamin D levels are correct also. Not just your vitamin D2, but also your vitamin D3. Because if you don't have the right amount of vitamin D in your body, it doesn't matter how much calcium you take, your body's not going to process it. And then there's other minerals and supplements that you have or should be taking at the same time to help your body absorb the correct amounts of vitamin D. And it's all related. You can't just add a little more oxygen to the fire and hope that it's going to keep smoldering all night, because it probably won't. It's going to go up and you're going to burn all the fuel, and they won't have a fire in the morning.
Absolutely, and I can relate that that vitamin D calcium thing. The vitamin D calcium thing is important, and your vitamin D3 really should be coming from sunlight. It doesn't mean too much sunlight. Again, not excess, not too little, the right amount. And you have to find the balance for your body and learn to read how your body reacts to things. When you get it right, you'll feel it, you'll know it. Also with vitamin D3 and calcium, also you need K2 to support that function. But if we back up for a second and we look at calcium in soils, oftentimes people add lime to their soils all the time, hoping to keep the calcium levels up. But that lime won't have any effect if you don't have enough sulfur there to support the interactions that happen. That sulfur is a catalyzer for many processes, and if you don't have the sulfur there, you can't even build proper amino acids, which means you can't build complete proteins, and so you have plants that are deficient again. So yeah, it's really balanced. And if you look at it, the easy way to like visualize this is if you look at like an equalizer, right? And you look at all the different levels you can tune. You're trying to tune it to a level that the sound sounds good. You're trying to do that same thing with your body, in the soils, the plants, and in our ecosystems.
Yeah, and it's an oddly delicate and yet robust relationship. It's delicate because if something's just out of whack a little bit, things can go sideways really fast, and the consequences can be devastating. But at the same time, it seems like a lot of people, we have deficiencies all the time, and we're just suddenly. We just put up with it. It's tolerated until suddenly, oh no, it's really bad. And
the crash happens.
And then the crash happens. So it's either the slow burn or the big crash. Just pay attention. Yeah. And so yes, cilantro, I see it in chat. So those who are allergic to cilantro do seem to... taste soap when they eat it. I taste a little bit of Dawn dish soap. And a friend of mine is extraordinarily allergic to it. She can't even smell it, but she's fine with coriander, which is interesting to me.
Well, it's a little different, it's all about.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's all about, I guess. So Carlton, what would be the difference between the seed and the leaf of the plant when it comes to that?
Yeah. Okay. So plants are just like us humans and like other animals. We're trying to replicate ourselves and like produce our progeny. And so plants, when they do that, they're taking nutrients from the soil and collecting sunlight and energy. And when they create a seed, they're trying to pack everything into that seed that it needs to germinate and get out and put out its leaves and roots so it can connect with the soil and the microbial system in the soil again. So seeds are really accumulators of all of the trace minerals and multiple different types of oils, the omega-3s, the omega-6s, and the omega-9s. Seeds tend to have a much higher omega-6 level in there. So there's a tremendous difference between like the biological living plant and the embryo, which is what a seed is in the plant.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting that's a good way to put it there, buddy. So yeah, excellent.
Yeah, so and different parts of plants can be toxic too. So look at rhubarb, for instance. People can eat the stalk of the rhubarb, but the leaf itself can be very toxic to you.
And even the stalk of the rhubarb actually has some oxalic acid in it, which is actually what's in that plant that makes it toxic. And I'll just correlate this to another thing. I know Lucky talked about mushrooms in here a little bit. Mycelium actually use oxalic acid to go out and test and sense their environment and determine how they can kind of crack their way through the environment. So it's another interesting correlation where these little pieces are all part of a huge ecosystem.
Yeah, so and it's all related. It's all connected. And yeah, that delicate but yet robust relationship. So we had one more we had kind of talked about maybe doing, and it was colt's foot is the real name, also known as ass's foot or bull's foot or horse's foot. Kind of, they're all related. The Tussilago farfara if I'm pronouncing that correctly. My Latin is not very good. I am not a Catholic schoolgirl. So if you want to, do you have your information pulled up there?
I'm just grabbing it now because that was one I forgot to pull up. But one sec here, and I should have it.
Okay.
Okay, so traditionally used for sore throat, dry cough, and respiratory conditions. Colt's foot or Tussilago farfara is a perennial plant growing up to 12 inches in height. It has golden-colored flowers that resemble dandelions. It looks very much like dandelions, I should note. It originated in parts of Asia and Europe, and is known to flourish along roadsides in meadows and hedgerows. From health benefit standpoint, colt's foot is often mistaken for a dandelion. The leaves and the flowering buds are the primary parts of the plant used for medicinal purposes. The flowers die before the leaves appear, which is how colt's foot originally got its name, Filius Antepetrum, which translates to the son before the father. The common name, colt's foot, evolved because the leaves resemble the foot of a horse. I don't know why they repeated that. Anyway, colt's foot has been traditionally used as an antioxidant to strengthen the immune system, an antitussive to ease cough, an antimicrobial to kill bacteria, and an anti-inflammatory agent to lower inflammation. As far as medicinal uses goes, it's used for bronchitis, lung cancer, emphysema, rheumatism, tuberculosis, pertussis, also known as whooping cough, upper respiratory infections, sore throat, cough, asthma, wheezing, and laryngitis, as well as skin disorders such as inflammation.
How about COVID-19?
Yeah, actually, it's a powerful tool for that. Mm-hmm. And actually, dried colt's foot can be used and smoked, believe it or not, to help with lung cancer.
Wow.
I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but yeah, that's in one of the herbal medicine books my mom had years back. I remember her saying you could smoke it. So.
Yeah, it's probably one of those books that has never been printed ever again, and that information has been stricken from its pages.
And if you ever do find one, it's going to be $1,000 to buy it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for culinary purposes, it can be used as a replacement for salt because it has a slightly salty flavor to it. So it's a good seasoning. It is one of the first flowers to emerge in the springtime and can appear as early as February, depending on where you're at. So it's really good for springtime rituals because the flowers are very bright and sunny and cheerful. They're yellow. Imlach, Astara, Beltane, depending on where you're at. It's a way to celebrate the returning of the sun. Also known as coughwort as part of the daisy family. And is considered to increase psychic awareness, but it's generally not used alone. It's generally mixed with something else.
Yarrow.
Dandelion.
I was going to say I would mix it with yarrow for sure with that.
Mugwort, mint, anise, acacia, any of that. So just even star anise, but you can burn it on a chunk of charcoal, and so that smoke will, you can just breathe the smoke like a smudge. And it corresponds with, roll over screen, to water and the planet Venus. In spell work, you can use it for love, tranquility, or money spells. It can be burned, of course, during divination. It's a healing incense that goes back to that breathing. See, I would probably, if I were to make a smudging or smoking stick, I would put it with sage because those are both very cleansing.
Oh, yeah.
The stems themselves are often woven into wreaths, and you just burn with other herbs to aid psychic visions, remove sickness, and mental health problems. So now it needs to make sure this is where your plants are really important on making sure you're identifying them correctly and you have the right thing, because Western colt's foot it has a higher level of alkaloid, so you want to make sure that you're not substituting it or grabbing the wrong thing, because instead of trying to get the beneficial stuff, you may be poisoning yourself and giving yourself liver damage, and that's bad.
Liver or lung?
Liver.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just
liver damage is bad. Okay.
Yeah. But keep in mind, it's generally it has about the same alkaloid level as Tylenol. So if you're being careful with the amount of Tylenol you should take, you probably shouldn't be using this either. Same with comfrey. So just it goes back to those drug interactions. Make sure you're paying attention to what all of the bits and pieces to make sure they're not gonna give you, like heart failure or something when it kind of kills your high when you go into respiratory distress. So let's see. Generally people should avoid taking tablets that contain a lot of comfrey or colt's foot, both, because again the toxicity can be quite high. And if you're going to be taking Tylenol for a headache, don't do the colt's foot or the comfrey. Do one or the other, not both. Otherwise, yeah, it's especially over longer periods of time, it'll impact your kidneys and your liver, and yeah, that's bad. So
yeah, I would say as a general rule, don't pair herbs together or herbs and drugs together unless there's a specific reason to do so. Like, if you found something that says you need to pair this and this together, if you don't see that, don't put them together. Keep them separate.
Exactly. Now, if you do take Tylenol a lot, or you use comfrey or colt's foot, either one, a lot, you can use milk thistle to kind of cleanse your liver, especially if you've had some stress, like you've had the flu or something. That milk thistle is really good for you. So
yes,
it's one
milk thistle. Can I just touch on that briefly?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yes.
That is an excellent one, like you said, for cleansing the liver. That's also been used for treating snake bites. And actually, there was a case, I forget where I read this, but there was a case where someone had been bit by a really poisonous snake, and they were in the hospital. They were trying to treat him for the poison, and they didn't have the antidote for the snake. And the nurses in the hospital read up on it, and they found that milk thistle was supposed to do it. And it was the only option that they had, and the doctor wouldn't let them do it, and the hospital wouldn't let them do it, and they snuck them some milk thistle, and it turned out to be the reason the guy lived through the ordeal.
Wow.
So I actually carry milk thistle with me when I'm hiking in case I'm bit by a snake, because it's that powerful as far as a liver cleansing and toxin, like it sort of counters toxins.
Yep, that's a good one to have. Let's see. See if I can pull up anything.
So would that be applied for in the sense of the snake bites? Would it would be applied topically? Is that correct?
Negative. It would be taken internally.
Oh.
And it's best to soak it in water for about 10 minutes if you can, because that'll help open the seed up and get it into your system faster. Now, obviously, if you've just been bit by a snake and your time is very limited, you could take it and drink some water with it, and the acids in your stomach will open up and do it. But yeah, that's internal. I think it's about a tablespoon of milk thistle seed. You want the seed of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, it looks like Pliny wrote about it, milk thistle for carrying off bile. So yeah, good for your liver. Medieval herbalists used it for kidney, liver, spleen, gallbladder issues, snake bites, mushroom poisoning. So eat the wrong mushrooms. And it can help with skin conditions if you use it as a topical agent. And let's see. You can also help with like breast milk. If you're breastfeeding, for if you see any of the mother's milk type teas in the grocery store, it probably has milk thistle in it in some way, shape, or form. So it's not water soluble, so generally the tea isn't quite as good for you.
It's a little gritty.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not as effective as
Just
a
the
tea.
hair.
Yeah. So if you can eat it either boiled or raw, in the stems are like celery almost, that crunchy to snap to them. So you can put it on your salads, which is good for you. So yeah. And apparently the seeds are similar to coffee if you roast them properly.
Huh.
So
Now that's interesting.
yeah, because coffee is life.
Time.
So yeah, time. So we have one more minute. So what's your YouTube channel again, Carlton?
It's the Farmacy Seeds Network. Pharmacy spelled Farmacy, as in let food be thy medicine. And on my channel, there's several videos that touch on a lot of these things, especially olive leaf. I did a video on olive leaf maybe a year ago or so. So I encourage you to go check that out. It's probably one of the best things you could ever do for your own health and for your life and for those around you and for your heart and for your happiness. The Farmacy Seeds Network. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram and that stuff. I think I'm under Reboot Agriculture or the Farmacy Seeds Network. I don't do that social media stuff so much. I'm really more focused on the YouTube channel these days. So that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure talking with you, Paisley and Don, both of you guys. And thank you everyone in the chat as well for your support and your great comments.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of information this weekend. So yeah, make sure you come back and subscribe to the show so you can check out the repeats or TFR has the archives also, so you can go there and get the archived shows. And then
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't forget to give Paisley a like if you haven't, and if you could come back and comment on Paisley's show, that would be great.
Excellent.
Sorry.
All right, no worries. That's it. So merry meet, merry part. Merry meet again. We'll see you next week. And thanks again, Carlton. And I hope you all have a very lovely day.
Thank you.
And I'll be right back, Carlton.
Bye.
All right, sounds good. Good night, everyone. Thank you.